Welcome to the podcast. Yeah. Welcome to the podcast. Welcome to the podcast. Yeah. Welcome to the podcast. Welcome.
I just really like it.
Oh yes. Fucking orcs are awesome looking too. Oh my god, they look so good.
Oh,
and
the new
especially
stuff.
with the new stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like this kill rig, oh my god, that looks amazing.
It's cool too because it's a not just a vehicle but spellcaster attached.
There's a spellcaster attached to this thing? Yeah. That's horrifying.
And it has a hook. It's like it spears into things.
No! It has a spear gun?
Yeah.
That's cruel. That's
too
cruel
much.
too.
Are we done? That's much too much. Oh yeah, we're recording.
Okay, we're recording.
We're recording about
We normally say
Warhammer.
funnier things, so I might not use any of this. I normally start us a little bit before we actually start the podcast because I think it's funny.
This is where we start seeing Pedro's true colors and his hatred of Warhammer. He starts cutting out everything we say about Warhammer.
Yes.
And anything we say about it's now no-goes.
This is going to be a podcast with a bunch of like blank spaces where we were talking about Warhammer.
Yeah. Just put it in an automatic filter whenever it gets discussed.
I type 125 and Sean's like, is it 1250?
Oh my god. She wishes.
She's so desperate for it to be cheap.
That's a big no.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah, so you know, I've dropped some money on that already.
I dropped a bit of money on mine, but that's why I'm glad we kept it to 500 points because I was like, those really pretty things. Hey, they get
I mean,
pricey.
we can even like go smaller and go kill team. But
Well, the thing
I like the power set that we're at.
I think it's good.
It gives you enough variety to like test out all the different things.
Yeah. And with how large our armies are compared to Pedro's, it allows us to customize more.
It means I get to kill more things, so it's just cool.
Just don't bring planes in because they're just so ridiculous. 500 points.
Well, I've got an anti-aircraft gunner.
Kind of.
The destroyer. Well, the destroyer is like a tank.
The destroyers are literally just guys with better guns than your regular guy.
I mean, for the Necrons, all guys are just guys that have just more stuff on them.
That's true. That is very true.
At the same time, like I've seen like people talk about like don't bring a flyer to 500 points. Like don't bring massive 30 mob boys into 500 points. Like what are you talking about?
That's the funnest thing to do.
It's like when we were talking about doing the like 1,000 points, and I realized that like for 1,000 points I could just literally get just like a shard of the god and like the monolith, and that's 1,000 points right there.
Two fucking things.
It's just two things, but I don't know how this is gonna go, but it should be fun.
It's a possibility to play a game like that.
Yeah,
Those god shards.
I'll figure it out, guys. I'm not sure.
No, you just use a different kind of detachment.
Necrons are fucking terrible. It's like the Warlords detachment or Lords of
The super
War.
heavy
Yeah.
detachment.
I hate those fucking detachments because
You-
it's like
Supreme Command.
yeah, because it's like I bring what 3 guys and just as many giant things as I can.
Have
get
we
in my hand.
talked about Warhammer on the podcast? Do you guys want to go ahead and just do a Warhammer episode?
Warhammer's horrifying. It's like Halloween. It's very Halloween-y. Especially Necrons. They're skeleton boys.
Well, you
Skelly
know.
boys.
I don't think I'd probably release the Warhammer episode after, and we're welcome to the podcast. We're letting everyone know.
I refuse to introduce the podcast.
That's not canon. It's not real.
It's very
It's not canon. It's only gun.
It's only good.
I feel like, well, to get a peek behind the scenes, we try to do a few episodes at a time, and there's been a little bit of hiatus that we've had, just a short one, but things got in the way. but I'll probably release the Warhammer after what we plan to be our real Halloween episode.
I don't know.
So, you're limited on time, huh? All right, whatever. We'll just talk about Warhammer. That's our Halloween episode, everybody. Welcome to October, the podcast Battle at the Big Table.
Welcome to October.
We're gonna talk about the scariest thing I could think of, which is Warhammer.
That's pretty scary.
Yeah.
It terrifies me.
It should.
In the grim darkness of the far future, there is only horror.
Okay, fine. Horror. Damn.
It's October.
I know.
Get into the spirit.
War is hell, you know.
War, Mr. Bond.
I mean, war. What is it good for?
That's true.
I love that
That's
meme.
true.
That meme.
So Pedro, you're the most into Warhammer. Why don't you tell us what it's about?
Yeah. All right, so I'm gonna do this. Warhammer is a story about a man, John Warhammer.
John Warhammer. Okay.
It's set a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, where John has his skeleton friend Necromancer. We call him the Necron.
The Necron.
And he and the Necron decide to play army. John decides he always has like a bunch of different armies he wants to play as. Sometimes he wears a bicycle helmet and pretends to be alien squids. Sometimes he gets his Gundam suit and pretends to be a space marine.
Oh,
Is it
I've heard of all these things.
is it weird that he's not like entirely wrong?
No, absolutely not.
I feel like I'm usually right about everything I say.
Okay, continue. I'm so intrigued now by this twisted version.
Whereas, you know, his friend Necron mostly just likes Egypt, so just wears a bunch of Egypt stuff. And, you know, it's just a gang. They play outside in the backyard and just dress up and fight each other in this fake war game. That's what Warhammer is. So that's why it's called Warhammer 40k, because
It's because they did it a lot.
yeah, that's it.
The 40,000th time they've done this.
That's how many kids are involved. There's 40
there's
kids.
40 kids.
Okay.
Yeah.
Understood.
Pretty good. Pretty good.
That's what Warhammer is.
Damn. That was close.
Yeah. So when does this take place?
Tuesdays,
Tuesdays.
you know,
Yes.
when their parents are busy at work.
Tuesdays are good.
Tuesdays are good.
That is canonically the day that was a good day for Ice Cube. So it was a Tuesday.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it was only Tuesday.
It's a good day.
Yeah.
It's really
You
funny.
thought
It's really funny because I'm currently wearing an M. Bison shirt.
It was just a Tuesday.
if you guys could only see, it'd be very entertaining.
Oh god.
All right, enough of my ramblings about what I think Warhammer
I
is.
enjoyed
Let's get into the real. There's people out there who might be listening to this
Who don't know?
and know nothing about Warhammer, and they're sitting trying to piece it together from what I've said, and they're confused.
Alright.
Much like I was confused talking about it.
So, because his story is stuck in my head, and I'm like, I want to take apart his story and show what actually is true, but that is too much history.
Okay.
So much history.
Tell us about the Imperium of Man.
Okay, so, brief summary of what Warhammer is. The universe is at war. The Imperium of Man is the combination of what is left of the human civilization that was called the Imperium of Man.
Yes, what's left of it that's colonized the entire galaxy.
Well, they got destroyed by a giant wave of dark magic that These two chuckle nuts didn't help anything with.
No, not at all.
By these two chuckle nuts, I mean Mike plays orcs, which are a thing he will explain later.
Orcs are, if you know anything about Tolkien and have watched The Lord of the Rings, you know what orcs are.
You know what an orc is.
But it's in space.
It's
in space.
Space orcs.
Yes.
And my brother is the Necrons, which are metal skeleton boys who want to end the world, because that's a thing that needs to happen.
Yeah, death is good. I don't know why you wanted us to do anything about the death wave.
I don't, because it's bad.
Death is sleep.
So,
Sleep is good.
Okay, I'm gonna step in on this one. So, we're getting to lore stuff, but Warhammer the game, for anyone that doesn't actually know what it is, it's a tabletop game played with miniatures, like little miniature armies. And Warhammer 40k is the in-space version of Warhammer.
Yeah.
Although it's kind of changed recently, it's now Age of Sigmar.
Fantasy.
Rebranding and all that. So in Warhammer, the point of the game is that you choose a faction out of many and build an army out of it, in which we each have orcs, necrons, and
the Astra Militarum, or the Imperial Guard, which is everyone else rather you call us.
the human baby boys.
I'm not human baby boys, how dare you? I'm strong hammer of empire.
They're not all Russian.
Actually, a large portion of them are Russian. They're historians. They're crazy.
The Troyans?
Yeah, they're straight crazy.
They're Russian analogs.
They're Russian analogs, okay.
Right. Yeah.
It's space. They're space Russians.
So yeah, the lore of the game is to explain why these armies are all fighting against each other, and the explanation is that there's only war and nothing else.
There's only war. You must fight for survival or die for survival. And in my case, it's mostly die. It's mostly charge head-on into giant 6-foot-tall orcs with giant axes that they should not be able to wield, and endless skeleton armies that raise from the ground. And as the humans, literally we're just normal humans. I have a knife, a shitty gun that doesn't do shit to anybody.
It's practically a flashlight.
And a grenade. And God, I hope that grenade kills that motherfucker who kills me.
My people don't die.
His people don't die. His people have mastered death by putting their bodies into robots, which they were tricked into doing by evil gods. And
cut them up.
they used those bodies to kill those gods.
Put them in boxes.
They cut them up and put them in boxes.
Pedro, would you like to tell us about your faction?
Long ago, there were only 2 races, 2 species. This is as best as I could do. I don't actually know a lot about the lore, but I'm gonna say it anyways with as much confidence as I can muster.
Of course. Absolutely. Yeah, I believe you. Sure.
And one of those species was sick, very, very sick, and they kept dying, and they had no idea why. And they went to help from the other, more Lovecraftian type species of crabs, and the crabs said,
They're like lizard men.
Or lizard men, or
Fat
whatever.
lizard men.
Fat lizard men. So the fat lizard men said, no, we don't want to help. And so my people decided, oh, well, I don't know, why don't we just, make ourselves cyborgs and stuff? Seems like a good idea. I don't know. Let's try that. Apparently, they were being fed on by a god, which is why they were sick. And the whole cyborg thing was like a trick. Which, not cool. That's very rude. So my people decided, I think an equal response to having been fed on for hundreds of years, and to be tricked into making ourselves into metal people would be to kill the god, cut him up, and use their powers for evil. You know, like reasonable people do. So when we killed the god, we cut them up, we put them into boxes, and went, hey, you remember when we asked the lizard people for help, and they were like, nah, brah, you do you. Well, let's like eradicate them from the face of the planet.
The face of the universe.
The whole universe. So we did that, and after we did that, we were like, are you tired? Because I'm like fucking tired. I'm very, very tired right now. Did a lot of stuff. I do feel like we should probably end the whole everything because, and hear me out, good idea. Anyways.
It's just like,
but before we do that, let's just sleep for a bit. So my people went to sleep for, I guess, thousands of years. And during that time, stuff happened, and humans came about, and space orcs and space humans did not like each other. And more space things happened, and they also were dicks. And then we woke up, and we weren't happy about it.
You were very grumpy.
Have you?
Waking
Yeah.
up.
Yeah. Have you ever, like, you're having a good nap, and then your roommates got into an argument, and they kind of bust in your door, just arguing, and you're just like, remember that eradicate all life plan? Now seems like a good time.
this is the best description of Necrons I've ever heard. This is great.
And so that's Necrons for you. Also, we got a real Egyptian vibe going for us.
Yeah, totally. But
It's
the
like-
skeleton.
It's like a combination of Day of the Dead stuff from Mexico and Egyptian mythology, and just
Something like that.
yeah,
Yeah,
smash that together.
all the dead mythologies.
Oh yeah.
And I play orcs. And the thing about orcs are that they're just a bunch of British hooligans. And the thing about them is that they love one thing and one thing only, and that's fighting.
Oh, fighting.
And whatever they can do, they will get into a scrap, and that's with humans, Necrons, space elves, or each other.
Do not care. They do
It
not.
doesn't matter if they're fighting, if they're having a good time, and they are goofy as shit. And that's why I play them.
They're so fucking goofy.
One thing that's really neat about them is they have a weird aspect to them that if they really truly believe something, it happens. So for example, they believe that the color red makes things go faster, so they often paint their trucks red, and they indeed go faster.
It's so fucking insane because like the other colors also have stuff, and one of them is purple. Purple makes things harder to see, or at least more stealthy. And so there's a running gag in my army that we have never seen a purple orc. We have never seen one walking around doing anything. And there's always stupid purple orcs behind our lines shooting and stabbing us. But we can't see them.
So it's orc snipers.
Fucking orc snipers. 2 feet from
There's a really funny story between garden orcs that goes like a bunch of orcs came upon an Imperial Guard stronghold, and the guard were completely wiped of resources. They weren't sure what to do to survive against the orc invasion, and someone had the brilliant idea to pull out their gun and just start going bang, 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 and then the orcs started dying from the shots.
This is my favorite fucking story. The guy just starts yelling at everybody in the group, shoot at them, okay, bang, bang, bang. You just start putting down orcs, and then there's a goblin rushing one of them, and they start going bang, but the goblin doesn't die. And he goes bang, louder. So goblin still doesn't die. He goes bang, and then you hear the goblin. It gets close enough, and he goes, I'm a tank. Oh, he kills everybody. You're just sitting there like, what the fuck? Fucking assholes. God damn fucking orcs. But yeah, so that's my situation. I have to fight the endless green tide here of orcs constantly tumbling over themselves to get to the next fight, and the endless marching death brigade parade of metal boys.
Turn the slap.
When I was a young boy, my father. Oh god.
Yes. We are the Black Parade.
The Black Parade.
So yeah, so that is that. And then there's also the chaos, which is that weird dark magic thing I was talking about earlier, that neither one of these idiots did anything about because couldn't be bothered, could they? Fucking chaos is the exact opposite of the Imperium, which is funny because the Imperium's pretty horrible. But basically, chaos is the amalgamation of either pure rage, which is Khorne's domain. Each chaos god has its own domain. Pure disgust and pestilence and disease, and that's Nurgle's domain. Pure. What is Zinch is like just like planning.
Zinch is ambitions and plans.
Yeah, ambitions, plans, betrayal.
Yeah.
He's, and then the last one, which is my least favorite, which is Slanesh, which is the gross sex, deviancy, drugs, and my brother. It's my brother.
Sex, drugs, and rock and roll. But yeah, the point is that there's a lot of factions in the game that you can play as, because this game is old. It's super old. But they're still ongoing, and they've gotten really big.
So, like a typical game. Well, I've only played one game type, so I was gonna ask you guys what's like a typical game, because I know like there's a capture the flag type style, and the way that you play it is you have your different figures that you can buy, and your different figures have stats to them. So if you think about it, kind of like in D&D rules, in D&D you have your character, and your character has levels and different like stats and different dice that you can roll depending on what the DM says. But in this game, you don't have a DM, you have a rule book that between you and the other person you're playing with, or the group of people you're playing with, you all understand the basic rules of whatever game you're trying to play, as far as I understand it. And you know your army and the different rules behind the types of troops that you have. Each troop has different movements, and you use like a ruler to kind of like gauge out how far they can move when it becomes your turn, and you just go through the different movements, activate whatever effects. And the game type that I'm aware of is kind of the capture the flag.
Yeah, it's called Relic.
Relic.
Basically, there's a special item that you need to capture in the center of the board, and then both teams chase it down, and whoever gets there first usually has the advantage, but also has got the target painted on their back. So basically, you don't want something that's really easy to hit, but you also don't want something that's slow. You want something that can like move and stuff. Whatever, this is semantics. The point is that whoever gets the item gets shot, they drop the item, someone else has to pick it up, the enemy could pick it up and get away with it and stuff.
Yeah. The thing about Warhammer is that it's a highly customizable game.
You're pretty.
It's, I mean, just like in D&D, where like there's so many ways that you can play the game, and the DM can come up with so many different stories. There's so many ways you can build characters.
Yeah.
In this game, it's not just one game, because you have, like, for example, in a board game, whatever's in that box, that's the game. But with Warhammer, you can play it so many different ways, where you can have like your army and then your friend's army, and then maybe you're doing capture the flag, maybe you're doing I want to destroy your entire army type, or maybe you do other stuff. There's also maybe more story related missions that you can do. So where, for example, maybe your friend has like 3 times as many amount of units that you do, but you have a fortress that you are defending and you're hiding behind.
I've done something like that. That's a lot of fun. Just have wave after wave of guys smash into walls, like you're just unloading stuff into them. There's definitely an insane amount of game modes. Like there's these narrative campaigns that I've seen a couple. Those things are so intricate, and it's literally just like, hey, okay, I'm walking through this canyon and you ambush me and we'll find out who wins. But it's like got all this story and stuff behind it, and then you can like play another game and that's connected to the last game, so your army choices get limited as you go through the game, which is really neat.
And the size of the games can be very variable too, because you have Kill Team, which maybe you only have 5 miniatures, or you're in Apocalypse, where everyone has like thousands of models, like,
and it's
ridiculous amounts of
like it's planet sized invasions.
Yeah,
and
people
stuff.
people have rented out entire warehouses to play games of Apocalypse.
Yeah.
Ooh, that sounds cool.
It's super cool.
pretty to watch, but Jesus, is it scary? 'Cause I'm like, I don't even know how you painted all this. How did you do this?
That's the thing about Warhammer, is that there's a lot of obstacles to getting into the game. Obviously it can be costly depending on what type of game you're playing. You can do smaller versions of the game and just get like 1 or 2 armies, and kind of just over time build up your army and build up your ability to do things. But when you're a new player, like I know I felt a lot of reluctance to play it, because it was a lot of learning new rules, a lot of it's in a sense kind of like D&D, where D&D has a lot of rules you have to learn, but it almost feels like there's even more rules than D&D. So there is definitely that aspect of it that makes you feel like it's a daunting task to take on. But it's worth it at the end of the day. Kind of like D&D, I know a lot of people who would say, oh, I don't feel like reading all these books and that's really hard. But it's worth it. It's worth to learn all these things. And to a certain degree, if you have friends that already know the rules, you don't have to read everything. You can just buy a few armies and kind of play with your friends.
That's what most of my friends do. I realized that I accidentally memorized most of my friends' armies, and so they don't even bring their books sometimes. And I'm like, "What are you doing? You need your book?" And it's like, "No, you got it." And I'm like, "What do you mean I got it? It's your army." I have to look up the book to make sure I'm right.
Oh no!
It sucks being that person, but but it's I think it's worth it. It's a lot of fun, and there's a lot of variety. I think that variety can look like an obstacle at first, because you're like, well, how do I even play? What do I even do? But once you start talking through with friends who are also interested in it and have different types of gameplay that they want to do, once you start realizing what you think is fun and how to do it, there's a lot of ways you can go about it, which is good.
Yeah, yeah, it's a lot of fun.
So we think that you should definitely play Warhammer because everything is war.
Also, we think you should play Warhammer because we play Warhammer. And having more people play Warhammer is fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should play Warhammer with us.
But don't get Warhammer Plus. Fuck that shit.
But we don't know you, so.